This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Les Freeman wants to know, do you think you could have done well with Jerry Stubbs as you did with Tully had he gone with you to WCW? I loved working with you and Stubbs in Continental. So I guess Les Freeman is an old school guy from way back like yourself. We haven't talked a lot about Jerry Stubbs. What do you think that would have looked like had he came along with you?
He was one of those that it was really sad that he did not want to venture out. His whole thing, I mean, if you find pictures of Jerry Stubbs, he had a beautiful little home there in Pensacola down in Gulf Breeze. Guy looked like $1 million. He was tanned. He was jacked. Most importantly, he was a very accomplished worker. Very accomplished. And he wrestled under a hood for a long time, and he had really good looking gear, good looking hoods. Mr. Olympia was his gimmick, but he just wanted to stay between Pensacola and Bill Watts territory, which was Louisiana, a couple states over. I think he went probably to Memphis some, but he didn't want to venture out. He didn't want to move. His wife had a good job with Island Authority down there. His kids were in school. That was home. And anybody that knows anything about Pensacola Gulf Breeze, it's heaven, you know. And if it weren't for the continual hurricanes blowing through there over the years, I'm sure I would have ended up on the beach living there, because it's just, and Aaron's from there. The whole thing is a lot of reasons to live there, but he didn't want to budge. And, but the fact is, we made a really good team. I learned a lot from him as far as, tag matches and all that. I think the Horseman thing is bigger than just any set of circumstances. I think it was destiny. And I think it was destiny for all of us involved. It was destiny for the business. I think it was as hot, that Horseman deal with the Crockett days, as anything has been, comparably, arguably. I don't think Jerry would have fit into that promo set of guys, because Tully was he was a heel's heel, and he had a perfect spot and fit that position perfectly. And, all the pieces, came together, and it was just destiny. And would Jerry have made a great partner going forward for how many years? Of course he would have. I don't know that he would have fit in the Horsemen. It's a very select group.
It's funny you mentioned the Tully thing too, because you and I've had, private text message conversations this year, but there's been multiple times just this calendar year, 2020, where Tully Blanchard has cut a promo, whether it was online or on TV. I mean, it's Goosebump City. And this is a guy who was away from the business for a long, long time. It's really hard to imagine anyone besides him cutting those promos, especially when you see that that's a skill that he still possesses to this day. It's rare that you can watch a promo in wrestling in 2020 and feel it, especially if you've watched as much wrestling as most of the folks listening to this show have. But man, Tully just had it in a way that was really special, right?
Well, he's not cutting a promo. He's telling you how he feels. Every accomplished superstar in this business that has done well, it's him talking to you, or it's her talking to you, but they're expressing themselves in just a little bit of a elevated character, but it's him talking to you. That's Tully Blanchard. That's who he is. That's why the test of time, it has prevailed, because what he was saying in the late 80s in Crockett, he says now, and it still resonates with people because they believe him.
Brandon wants to know, is there any truth to the rumor that there were at least talks of Beautiful Bobby and Sweet Stan becoming Horsemen and Jim Cornette stepping into the J.J. Dillon role? I think this has been briefly discussed or hinted at once upon a time, that this could have been something that was going to happen. But then of course Well, everything fell apart with the Midnight Express and they were out of there. That would have been something else. I think they would have fit in great with you guys, don't you?
Well, it could have been interesting, certainly just from a historical, point. It could have been very, very interesting. Yeah. It wasn't something that was on the front burner, but it was something that was talked about. I would hear rumors about what it was being talked about. So, hey, I would have been great with it. I was one of those guys that if it, give me some guys to work with, it can go, and that's all I care about. And to have those guys as a, part of a unit would have been very interesting.
Here's a fun one. Can Arn discuss the night he and Paul Roma beat Austin and Regal at Clash in August of 93? Also, was there ever any idea for a new fourth horseman in the Arn, Flair, Roma era, since Ole was pretty much on the sidelines? That's an interesting question. Do you think another guy was being considered in that era that for whatever reason just didn't happen?
Uh, I don't think so. I think they were just patching holes. Paul got a bad deal. He was, kind of tossed into that group when Tully caved in. That was the sequence of event. The negotiations caved in, and so they had to have somebody. They had promised somebody, and I think Roma had made preparations to come on board. They said, "Well, hey, he's got some good TV time behind him. He's looks like $1 million. Let's insert him in that spot." I don't think there was any plans after that. I think it filled a void because Ole, I think, was still working, wasn't he? Some managing
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
So the numbers still shook out to be okay, but I never heard any conversation about going ahead and putting a fourth guy in there.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.